Hi Stonewall, I'm Onyx TV. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. Glad to have you. Today, we're going to be talking about a specific group of characters. They're fluffy, they're cute, they're kind of annoying and meant to make jokes, and they're the most puntable characters in their entire universe. We're of course talking about the Mascot Characters. A mascot is a character meant to represent the group as a whole and basically be a cute little guy there to be there. Well, this is kind of how a mascot character is often perceived as being written, but they can be a lot more if written correctly. Now, the number one thing you have to avoid when writing a character that is a mascot is the one specific thing: sticking too hard to the gimmick. When you make a character a singular gimmick or joke, it's going to grate on people's nerves greater than anything else that could be conceived or imagined. Now, a character that is just a gimmick and an occasional member of the cast who kind of comes in every few episodes just to say their one bit of line and then disappear for the rest of the episode's plot is fine. It's nothing to worry about. A gimmick character is meant to be a background gag that only appears every now and then. You're going to forget about their existence whenever they're not on screen, and that's probably better for some cases. But when a member of the main cast is reduced to a gimmick, that's when people start to hate. Now, a mascot character is often the most hated member of the cast, if not the most hated character in the entire franchise, because of one thing. Now, a character can be pure, unbridled evil. There's still going to be fans in our actual world. A character could have no redeeming qualities whatsoever other than hot. There's still going to be people who enjoy this character. A character could kick puppies, punt bunnies, and make a kitten smoothie for lunch, and spit on babies, and still, there is going to be someone out there justifying their actions on the internet. But what a character will never, ever be liked for is being annoying. The most unforgivable crime a character can commit is being annoying to the audience. Now, being annoying is basically as well nuanced as being evil. There's certain crimes that are way past the line for some people rather than others whose line is still a lot further up. Same thing is with annoying, because a lot of other people have different tolerances to annoying, and a lot of different types of annoying exist. It's kind of, are you making this character a feature, or is it a bug that they're annoying? Because no one likes to be marketed to. But before we get too deep into this video, I'm going to call in a special guest who knows a lot about this stuff. Quartz!
Hi.
Thank you. Today we're talking about mascot characters. And yes, you have to wear the hat the entire time. So, mascot characters. If you write a character who's explicitly made to market to the audience, no one likes this. No one likes to be felt like they're being marketed to. And everyone will be able to feel it if the force of it is strong enough.
You will buy these plush toys. Your kids will be quoting their lines constantly. And you will contemplate spinning out on the highway to finally be free of the pain that is this failing family dynamic that you have accidentally established the second you showed your kids Despicable Me. Well, yeah. So, any mascot characters you want to talk about specifically, or did you just bring me here to say stupid things?
Well, we'll get to the examples in a minute. But first, the first example is the Minions. They are the mascots of Despicable Me, and they are everywhere. They have been plaguing Facebook since that first movie dropped, and has only been spreading from there. Only you alone can stop the Minion mind virus.
China. Okay, jokes aside. Yeah, obviously, whoop-de-doo, the minions are annoying on the internet, except for on Facebook, and even then, people have a strong opinion on the people that are on Facebook anyways. Yeah, that's not really anything new being said. Like, no, yeah, nothing on the internet. It's just like, the sky is blue. The sky is blue. Frankie is best girl. Minions are annoying. What of it? Those are like facts of life. The minions are the obvious example of what not to do in making a compelling mascot character. What they are an example of is how to make and sell a bunch of toys and outside material for merchandise, because that makes money. The minions are profitable, and that's why they keep hammering out Minions and Despicable Me movies.
They're like the Frozen of mascot characters. Kids go crazy for them, and adults tolerate it, if not absolutely obsessed over it.
I don't know if, how popular the Minions are, like, nowadays, now that we're in the 2020s, but they're making a fourth Despicable Me, so there's gotta be a market out there. Executives would never be out of touch in releasing things to grasp onto the final bits of success that are absolutely dwindling as their careers burn away in hellfire! Cut that out.
No.
Okay, moving on. But those are, like, obviously those are mascots. They weren't written to be characters as much as some people will write weird fan fiction trying to convince me Kevin from the Minions is a compelling character who is...
Now let's move on to some actual made-to-be
characters
mascot
made to be characters that are also mascots.
Let's talk about one of the best examples in the entire world. Chopper.
Yeah, the Chomp.
Chopper from the Straw Hats. I mentioned this in my Heart video, as he is a good example of a mascot character and a tag-along kid who doesn't get annoying. Mascot characters and tag-along kids can get very one-note. One Piece should know this. Because every single filler arc and movie has them dealing at least with one tag-along kid character.
They are used to handling children, so they can handle a Chopper.
And Chopper is definitely a child, because while he is a reindeer who 8 reindeers have a lifespan of about 17-ish years, Chopper
He
is
ate a funny little devil fruit that made him a part human reindeer monster thing who supposedly has a normal human lifespan.
But clearly, he might be 17, but he's definitely not 17 mentally. He's treated like a child by the rest of the Straw Hats, but he is respected as their doctor. Keyword, respected. A mascot character who, yes, Chopper is a mascot of One Piece. Have you seen how much merchandise this little guy sells?
We are wearing it.
But he is a good example because he is not just a one-note gag constantly. Most of his funniest moments aren't him doing dumb stuff because he's an idiot or a naive child. It's mostly him doing background noise, him hiding incorrectly, or him learning something incorrectly because he's surrounded by dumbasses.
Or reacting to something stupid that the rest of his crew did, because Chopper, despite being a 15-year-old...
Later 17.
Yeah, later 17. He tends to have his head on the straightest among a lot of the Straw Hats.
He's like mid-range between the Straw Hats that have a brain cell versus the ones that don't.
And the ones that shot it out while screaming super at the top of their lungs.
Yeah, him and Frankie are kind of in the same boat there. They're both smart in their respective fields, but dumbasses and everything else.
Being around some of these people tends to do that. You act differently around your friends, right?
Yes.
So it's probably that. Like, yeah, you're... yeah, whatever. I'm not going to get into that rant.
But Chopper is not a one-note gag of, hey, look, funny reindeer doing funny things. He has a lot of other moments, like him worrying about his friends when they're hurt, or when he gets taken by the Foxy Pirate. It was a whole thing! Long story!
That arc was interesting.
No one likes to acknowledge it, not even me, but we kind of have to do it. When he was taken by the Foxy Pirates during the Davy Back fight twice, it shows that he's really worried about his friends losing and not being able to travel with them again. But it shows some sweet moments between him and the other Straw Hats. Like Zoro telling him to toughen up and they'll get him back, or Robin being kind to him when they're both taken by the Foxy Pirates and are now basically waiting for the Straw Hats to win.
As they inevitably will, because the series would be really confusing if they had Chopper on the box still and he was MIA due to being kidnapped by Count Chocula over here.
Don't insult Count Chocula like that, dude! But
He made me alive because we're talking about Persona next.
Yeah, but let's finish up this Chopper segment real quick. I can't say many things that I haven't said in my heart video, but Chopper is a good example of a good mascot character because he's not just the mascot. Yes, in the world it is acknowledged that everyone else thinks he's the Straw Hat's pet, whether it be his bounty poster that is exceedingly low, or the fake Straw Hats replacing him with a fox because the alternative would have been really, really weird. And we're not imagining that, so stop it. But everyone acknowledges him as a pet in the One Piece universe, minus the actual Straw Hats and anyone that spend them exceedingly long time fighting or dealing with them when they eventually see Monster Point! Moving on to Persona next.
Alright, so going from a mascot character that is beloved to a good mascot character that has the community more divided than when you start a waifu war.
Okay.
Persona. Well, the topic is Persona. Morgana and Teddy are the two most notable Persona mascot characters. There are probably a few more, and you could say Jack Frost is the mascot of all of Megaten, but you're going to heat hell.
Okay.
But yeah, there was also this one owl in Persona 5 gacha game that released only in China so far that I don't know of. I'll just put a picture of him right above my head. But yeah, the two examples we'll be bringing up are Morgana and Teddy.
Let's start with Morgana because he's written slightly better.
Well, we'll get into that. Morgana is presented as, well, we first meet him as a weird cat creature that we encounter in the first palace. Ryuji's obviously giving him a lot of confusion because he was just put into what is basically the embodiment of human cognition and has no idea where he is. And obviously he's going to be really confused, and Morgana is obviously annoyed by, well, his more,
unsavory personality traits.
Unsavory personality and in-your-face attitude. So he's going to be giving Ryuji a lot of crap. This immediately starts their dynamic of these two fighting all the time. This rubs people the wrong way, and a lot of people misattribute this dynamic as resulting in the worst arc in the game. That is not the case, mostly.
They had a lot of potential with it.
Morgana, as a character, is, well, a lot like his persona. He is a gentleman thief who wants to,
win the hearts of...
Win the hearts of, well... steal the hearts of the public to help achieve his friend's goals, and, well, prove that he is human. Get his memories back, and then he can be with An. Although he doesn't entirely understand his situation, and a lot of people are rubbed the wrong way by his simping. Hey, at least he's only simping for one girl, and he isn't being super weird about it.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he isn't super weird about it. If you think Morgana's weird, we haven't gotten to the weird one.
When it comes down to simp-based characters, Morgana's far from the worst case, because Well, he doesn't do anything heinous with it when it comes down to his crush.
It's just some comments and holding her in high regard compared to a lot of the other Phantom Thieves. Well, he does want to be a good person. When Joker asks what kind of person Morgana wants to be in a scene, Morgana describes himself as someone who would want to punish someone for smoking in one direction while helping abused cats in another area of the world. And his persona, Zorro, not One Piece Zorro, like this absolute brick-shaped thing, like Zorro from the stories, is a gentleman thief with the famous, you know that Z, carving? Yeah, that's where that comes from, that guy. Mm-hmm. That's his persona for good reason, because it represents his character perfectly. And when we get to the worst arc in the game, honestly, a lot of that is honestly a lot of the reason why people despise Morgana, just because of how he lashed out there.
Then again, everyone hates that arc, minus that it gave us Haru.
Yeah.
And even then, some people still hate it.
Yeah, the honestly the biggest issue is that a lot of people are not understanding why Morgana was so clammed up. He was slowly being replaced. Yusuke is a better combatant. Makoto seems to know more about tactics. Futaba can literally modify the metaverse itself for navigation purposes, leaving him with being their glorified escape van.
Because he can transform into a van. And then later...
It's hard for some people to properly express emotions, especially if they've been going through a lot. And with the Phantom Thieves wanting to pursue fame more, but also getting cold feet that the request was being oddly suspicious, Morgana just starts lashing out, wanting to prove himself. He goes out alone. And I want to stress, Morgana didn't want to leave permanently. He just wanted to
prove himself.
Prove himself by soloing the palace. Unfortunately, this is a JRPG, and the cleric is not allowed to solo anything, so he gets his ass beat, and look, he accidentally brought a floofy girl in here as well. And she manages to partially awaken her persona, so he's not here alone anymore, but I'm not going to focus on that arc, because despite that arc, Morgana is well written. Yes, that's how far a lot of Mascot Characters standards have fallen.
Let me explain from a perspective of inside the game rather than the fandom version of Morgana. Morgana has basically spent all of his time in the metaverse and has finally met a group of people who are exploring it and growing. Every single time they get further and further through the metaverse, he gains more understanding of himself and a more place into the group. But slowly, as more people join, it feels like his main job in the group is slowly being dwindled away.
Even though that's a mentality thing a lot of people are dealing with. It's hard to feel like you're losing your place in a group and being replaced, when in reality, that's not what's happening. Yeah, people can do his role better, but so what? You're in this as well, and you have things to contribute. Even if you can't think as well as one of your other friends, you have a perspective that your friends find valuable. And if they don't, get better friends.
Basically, Morgana was dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome as more and more people joined the group, replacing his different characteristics. He was originally the main focus point the person you go to for information on the metaverse,
Sure.
Along with being the best healer early on, and being the tactician, and basically the navigator.
He was all these things because his original three allies were still fish out of water. Joker adapted quickly, and Ryuji's great plan of beating something until it stops moving tends to work out great. And, well...
On being normally slightly more level-headed than Buster McGee over here and doesn't spot...
Buster McGee and doesn't have enough proficiency to dodge D-Eraser.
Yeah. I think that's chalk, actually.
It is chalk. I'm stupid.
Yeah, it's chalk. But early on, Morgana, felt like he was a place because he could actually give insight. And he still can give insight later on, it's just he feels like he's being replaced. Even though that's not the case, because he still has some of the best healing moves in the game, and I will die on this hill.
He's a great healer. I prefer Makoto, or funnily enough, using superpowered healing persona on Joker. But Morgana still has my favorite thing to do in Persona 5. Let's go gambling! Lucky Punch is funny. But going from one goofy animal mascot with imposter syndrome to another goofy animal mascot with imposter syndrome, we have Teddy.
Having imposter syndrome is something that's very, very common in mascot characters for some reason.
It's common in Persona specifically due to, honestly, the themes of self-discovery and,
Basically, every single character has some sort of form of imposter syndrome in the Persona franchise.
Not necessarily, but, that will be discussed more if we ever do a full-on Persona video.
I will eventually, I just need to get around to it.
Alright, Teddy. This freaking creature of a bear.
And then later this guy.
What were you pointing to?
Image putting right here.
I'm gonna need to see what that image is. So, Teddy. This absolute creature had the ire of a lot of people, because a lot of people don't understand why Teddy is the way he is. Certainly doesn't help that the translating some things from English to from Japanese to English will result in things being lost, as a one-to-one translation will not have the best results. Some things are localized.
There is no such thing as a one-to-one translation of languages, mainly because how we normally handle language rules are always different depending on the language, and also the country that you're localizing it to.
So, Teddy has a weird linguistical quirk in Japanese where I think he literally just says their equivalent to the word bear interspliced with sentences. While in English, this is replaced with bear puns.
I love puns.
He is meant to be, he's meant to be basically a naive child who has no idea what's going on. He's with the investigation team because, they literally found him and he knows a little bit about what's going on. He can make the glasses that let him see through the fog. That's about it. He can navigate, sorta. He never really struggles with the issue of being useless compared to Morgana. I mean, he wishes he could do more, and then he blows himself up on a boss, and he's weird. But he's meant to come off more as a dumb child who doesn't fully understand the world around him, because he doesn't know what he is, and in some parts is in denial about what he is. I won't spoil that. Mm-hmm. However, a lot of people just see him as sexual harassment, the character. Even though he doesn't know any better, and his best influences are
a bunch of hormonal teenagers who are idiots and saying things that they know the meanings of, but Teddy does not.
Well, they're not even saying it. The shadows are saying a lot of the things that he doesn't fully understand. And no one's bothering to take him aside and explain to him what is going on until it's too late. And that results in a lot of issues that, I say issues, it's mainly just gags. And,
Because think about it this way. When a kid is first learning how to speak and learning the definitions of things, they're going to parrot what they hear most commonly. That's how a lot of the times their parents try to get their kid to say papa or mama. It's basically parroting what they've heard repeated. So if you swear in front of your kid is going to swear.
The difference is Teddy's not really a baby. He has like issues with his mind, like just thinking things fully through because he doesn't fully understand it. But he can grow. And he does throughout the game, growing attached to the investigation team, Nanako, who he basically just tries to act as another older brother to, like Yu is to her, and becomes just as human as the rest of the investigation team. Even if crashing at Yosuke's place isn't giving him the best influence. But he annoys a lot of people. And I get that. It's perfectly fine to be annoyed by a character. I don't really have that issue, which it takes a lot for me to absolutely despise a character.
We'll get to that guy later.
Yeah, I know. But Morgana and Teddy are characters that I cannot hate. They have issues, but so do all people.
They're dynamic characters. A lot of the time, a character is not going to be 100%.
A lot of people
enjoyable.
focus in on the aspects of a character that are more comedic, so that it's the fandom version of a character, for example.
Yeah, fandom is a lot different than canon. You never should get your fandom versions of characters mixed up with your actual characters. It's also something that happens in adaptations like movies.
It might also result in stuff like sequels or spin-offs doing that to characters, forgetting that the character is more than just this gag or...
That's where we get slanderization, which I'll have a full video on this at a later date.
As we need to keep this on topic of mascot characters, and I don't think Onyx wants to turn this into a two-parter.
Yeah. Let's just get a real quick definition of slanderization. It's basically going from the cycle of a dynamic character with some specific character traits, and some of which are very goofy. Cutting out the interesting and more redeeming traits and keeping the goofy ones for specific characterizations that everyone else views as more important. Turning a character that had a lot of stuff going for them in the first few seasons into more of a one-note joke. Think Owen from Total Drama. In the first season, yeah, he was an idiot, and yes, he liked food. But that wasn't his only character. He was nice, he was kind, he was fun, but he had some common sense to him, like knowing that Heather was kind of
jerk.
A word that we cannot say on TV. But
This is not TV. I wish
TV and YouTube. But basically, he, in the later seasons, got reduced to a one-note fart joke. Especially in action.
Yeah. But frustrating.
He's a good example of slanderization, and there's several other examples I can bring up, but let's get back to mascot characters. The mascot characters are often flanderized from the very start. If you take a character that's meant to be cute, funny, and a little bit naive, and make that their only characterization and not have any competence to them at all, it will get very annoying because it will feel like you're missing a point of a character. And why is this a main cast member and not just a side character that we only have to put up with at the end of arcs?
Hey, look, the side character that we have to put up with quite often because he literally lives with the main protagonist. Yes, this is the part where I admit that I've watched more than just One Piece
and
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I've watched a bit of anime. Well, honestly, this is like the only one other besides a bit of My Hero. Bleach. I like it. I don't exactly know if I'd call it quality, but I guess I'm a sucker for, she's a shonen, I guess. I'm a bit of a simple person. But, on topic of mascot characters, we get into Cone. Cone, when he's introduced, is very early on in the first, arc that's establishing the world and the characters that we are dealing with. He is basically a fake soul used to basically substitute the one in a body. In this case, Ichigo's, as he does need to go to school.
And it's really suspicious if a student just kind of passes out and is in non-motionless midway through the school day. That's how you get a call to the hospital.
I mean, it's not too suspicious in the U.S., but it's probably suspicious in Japan when someone Gmod ragdolls in the middle of class. But yeah, I don't know Japanese high school. However, Ichigo got one who's defective. Or, well, not defective, was a modified soul that was meant to be a weapon that was supposed to be destroyed when that was just deemed when modifying souls for the purpose of combat was deemed unethical.
Yeah, this is one of those moments that makes us think, are the Soul Reapers the good guys?
Yeah, we're gonna get into that later if we ever make a full video on that anime, which we need to watch more of. But getting into actually who Kon is. Kon is a modified soul who has a small amount of power, like is a bit superhuman, like superhuman jumping, a bit stronger than average, is, at least when we first introduce him, super happy to finally be out and about, and is basically just causing a bit of mischief, as he tends to do when you need stimulation, and after being trapped in the dark for years. So, obviously, he's going to cause trouble, and Ichigo gets back and needs to try and get into his body. He is actually somewhat interesting once the shenanigans die down, as he brings up the idea that, yeah, he doesn't really like the idea of fighting and other creatures and people taking each other's lives, as life is meant to be sacred. This idea is completely thrown out the second he gets put into a lion plushie found in the street.
Yeah.
So goes from something potentially interesting to a one-note perverted punching bag who's either getting tormented by Ichigo's little sister or perving on the female cast of the show. And promptly getting punted or punished in some way for it because, yeah, no crap.
Which is a shame because there are instances of him having an interesting dynamic with some of the cast members after this. But it's more of reduced down to moments instead of full episodes.
Reduced down to moments.
Like Ichigo telling him not to get his body arrested.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. It's mainly just the frustration I see here, but I also need to understand that it's not my type of comedy. It's generally just how it is. In Japan, that stuff it's gotta be popular if it appears in a lot of animes.
I mean, it's kind of been dying down, but most of the time, yep, there's at least one member of the main cast that's a perv, but most of the time this character gets their crap kicked in constantly.
Most of the time. It's basically all of the time in, this type of anime.
But it's less of an actual part of the show and more of just a gag that recurs.
Good. It's just, at least in my opinion.
On a scale from...
But I do find it funny how once we start encountering other mod souls, Kon is just immediately outclassed in every way. But then again, honestly, my problems with him aside, Ichigo's kind of lucky he got stuck with Kon, as the non-mod souls are like replica souls that are meant to be like in a body that the Soul Reaper is using are kind of psychotic. Like, Ichigo learns this. He's kind of lucky he got stuck with this guy, because despite everything, yeah.
Yeah. But since Kon is an actual important character, and not just a guy that appears every now and then, because he actually does have a purpose. Whenever Ichigo needs to fight a Hollow, which After the first season, the whole hollow of the wheat kind of thing kind of falls off a little bit.
It falls off because it starts to focus on a more large story about the different threat about the Soul Reapers and the laws of the afterlife and hey, look, it's vampires now. Hey, look, we're in the void.
Hey, look, there's a Soul Reaper Doom guy?
Things devolved. Or did they evolve? I don't know.
No.
I need to watch more. I am dying.
No, there's nothing wrong with taking a serialized show and making an overarching plot. This is something that happens with the first season oftentimes being more serialized and the later seasons being slightly more overarching. But give us some variety with it, because in the beginning it implied Cone would be an active, important force because, well, when we first meet him, he has some things with him that could be interesting. But that falls off quickly for the one-note jokes and occasional good moments of characterization.
Like the one interesting filler episode that he had where he was working with another Soul Reaper, that's name escapes me at the moment, who to help a child that was drowning, but he gets stuck in her plush toy and ends up basically being a counselor for her
Grief.
Her grief after her parents divorced and her dog died. Yeah, he was not mentally prepared for that, but he did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I hope we get. I also watch more. I do hope that he gets a bit more of that. But yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I think that's about as much input as I can give. No end gag here. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me work with you.
Anyways, let's wrap up a little bit more because I have some more things to say about.
Sorry.
I have a few more things to say about mascot characters.
I'll stick around then.
When a character is written correctly as a mascot, they are going to be an interesting part of the main cast, and it's going to be a side afterthought that they are a mascot character or just a gag in the show. Going back to Chopper a little bit, because Chopper, and his bounty is always so small compared to the rest of the cast when it comes down to it. And they picked the most adorable picture for him. And he's classified as the pet instead of the doctor. And his epithet shows how much people think about him. He's called Cotton Candy Loving Chopper. While he does really love cotton candy, which I do not think you should feed to reindeers, he is often also a very powerful force. While you wouldn't go straight to him for any combat type things, compared to most of the other Straw Hats, he's not a really combatant type person. He's more mechanical than anything.
It's because looking at his water poster at a glance, it's like a weird, the Chopper's like a weird pet thing that the Straw Hats have following him around. He's not going to be a big threat in combat, right?
That poor bounty hunter trying to get the Straw Hats accidentally learning why Cotton Candy Loving Chopper is not just the pet. But there's a few reasons why they don't consider him much of a threat Navy-wise. But at the same time, that's all up to speculation. For right now, his bounty is completely small. It's so small, and it's kind of sad, but it's sweet. That he's not reduced to anything. Him being a mascot character is a secondary part of his characterization. I would go as far as to say it's a secondary? That's not a word. It's a third part of his characterization that is not that important compared to everything else. His importance as a doctor, his lovable member of the team, him concerned about his other crewmates being injured heavily, or his dream to cure all diseases. Those are his main parts of his characterization. Him being a lovable mascot is third to all of his other characteristics.
It's almost as if making a mascot character could be as simple as defining just making a well-written character that's very interesting and has goals, and then just covering them in fur.
Mm-hmm. You can make a static character that is a sidekick. That's what Disney princesses do with their animal sidekicks. But then again, they're less of a important, dynamic, and arc-going character, and more of someone that is going to be connected to this character and a support throughout.
Honestly, I think you could do a video on the Disney princess, like, I guess,
Animal sidekicks.
animal sidekicks alone.
I will do that in a different video. I just wanted to kind of touch on this.
Make it a tier list.
I am not going to do that. I do not feel like being crucified at the stake for making a point.
I'll make the tier list then.
Oh no! But Morgana had a good opportunity. I'd go as far to say Morgana is 85% written correctly, minus that one arc that kind of diminishes a lot of his character. But throughout the entirety of the short story, it shows how important he is. He is an important member of the Phantom Thieves, like all of them. They aren't the Phantom Thieves if they don't have all of them together. Morgana has an interesting character arc. It just falls flat at a point that the writers of the story wanted it to be important, mainly because of how they set it up. And also, Fanon. Stop trying to make Fanon canon. Fanon-based characteristics are not real when it comes down to the canon.
Although, I guess consider this a teaser. Perhaps the fans can do some things a bit better than,
the authors. Yeah, that's not a hard thing to do in some cases. Wink, 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 wink,
we'll go into that in a future
wink.
video, but we should probably wrap this up.
Let's wrap this up. Time for the summary. So, summarizing. A character that is a mascot is going to be someone who has some characteristics and most likely animalistic type character design, who's basically at first glance meant to sell merchandise. Oftentimes, this character is going to be reduced to a one-note joke by the author themselves, and you have to remember that you're actively writing a character. If you want to make a static character, don't try to put the skin of an important character on them. There's nothing wrong with writing a static character, you just have to make sure that the static is acknowledged, and you don't try to make it act like the character's not. Own up to making a static character. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't try to pass a static character as dynamic. It looks very, very lazy. Making a good mascot character is difficult because you have to remember mascotting is going to be one of their least important characteristics. They still need to be an active member of the main group if you want people to actually enjoy their presence.
Write a character, not a marketing device. That's basically what she's saying.
If a character is loved enough, they are going to be marketed to.
They're going to be marketed. They're
going to be marketable. They're going to be marketable.
People are going to want to buy plushes of your little Scrungly because he's cute and interesting. Not just people aren't going to buy the Scrungle if the Scrungle isn't interesting. Yeah,
Scrungly Wungly can commit war crimes, and people are going to still buy him because they love Scrungly Wungly. But yeah, remember, you're writing an actual character here, not just a plush to sell toys. Now, that's all to do for today. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm Onyx TV, and today's question of the day, who's your favorite, mascot character? What character would you love a plushie of because they're so freaking fluffy?
Or just because you want to punt it across the football field.
Yeah. Sometimes a character is meant to be hated. And when you do that right as an author, I commend you because you did your job correctly. And, tell me what you want to hear more of down in the comments. Do you want to hear more from Quartz? Do you want Quartz to slowly take over this channel until I am no more a part of it? Please say no to that. But
the Product Moon video is inevitable.
Is that a threat?
Yes.
Now, that's all for today. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. As for me, I'm off to fight the moon. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna take a nap.